All right. Okay. To anyone who is actually watching this, this was, I think, a little bit mistimed on the settings, but I'm going to tweet this out.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I'm just doing a little bit of social sharing of everything right now, and then I'll be ready to go.
Sounds great. I guess we will let some people filter in here. Says it's uploading, but I have low disk space, which is surprising.
I have local recording set up.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder.
Higher
That doesn't
quality
seem.
recordings.
Just doesn't seem probable that I have low disk space because I don't use this computer for basically anything.
But if you've, yeah, okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Lazy morning to all of you who are here. I'm going to double check that it's on Twitter as well.
It is.
It is? Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. I'm pretty much ready to rock.
Sick. You want to give us another like 5 minutes, wait for some other people to show up, or probably do that?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do that? Okay. So like, what are we doing here? I can kind of give people a little bit of what to expect. So I'm Zaki. Park, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Park, known on Twitter as Chicxulub. I and Zaki have been working on Radiant Commons, which is an organization that seeks to scale open source technologies. And our first project that we're working on is Penumbra.
Yeah, so we're sort of coordinating in some senses pieces of the Penumbra launch, helping out various parts of the community with getting Penumbra live. So we're going to go through, how to connect to Penumbra, how to bridge funds into Penumbra, how to use Penumbra wallets, and then we're going to probably do like what is probably the first demo ever of providing liquidity on Penumbra. And we all have are we doing the special announcement at the end?
We are going to do some special announcements at the end.
Okay. So there's yeah, we're going to show people how to sync, how to navigate the RPC ecosystem, all of this stuff. And we'll get started in a minute or two.
Yep. Just give it another minute or two just to let people filter in, just because, you know, sometimes it takes a second.
To watch live, isn't it? And be able to ask questions. Yeah, we're paying attention to the YouTube. We've got YouTube and Twitter comments streaming for us. So, you know, if you have questions, we will be able to respond.
Yeah, I think, how about you monitor the Twitter comments and I'll monitor the YouTube
I think they both come in this panel on our right.
Oh, they do. Yeah, you're totally right. Huh. Well, that's super convenient. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give myself 1 second here. Advik, this is the first time I've ever seen someone comment TQ and have, like, it is like intuitive to me to see thank you, TQ. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to use that going forward.
All right. Are we ready to get started?
Let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, okay. So let's like I'll just kind of frame a little bit like, I'll just frame a little bit of what's going on. Okay, so Penumbra. Penumbra is a decentralized network. It allows for private proof of stake, private value transfer, private exchange. Penumbra is run by a group of validators from the community who are running an instance of the software. There is no one organization that is running any sort of piece of infrastructure for this network. So people are voluntarily running front ends. People are voluntarily running RPCs, and it's a little tricky, frankly, if you're sort of used to how things are done in crypto normally. This is different. So like one of the things that we're going to do is just like how do you navigate something that's different in this way? Different for a reason. It's the reason is to actually achieve our goal of the goals of Penumbra, which is to provide people privacy. We truly need like censorship resistance. We truly need a diversity of infrastructure providers. If we, any sort of centralization compromise is really unacceptable. So we are instead taking the community on this journey. So I think like the first piece that we're going to do is we're just going to go through and we're going to actually install and set up procs on a new on sort of a new Chrome profile and like start from there. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great to me. Yeah, I think I want to double underline what it is that you said as well, which is that like one of the parts that I think people are having a little bit of a hard time navigating, and you know what, I will say that I think that there can be a lot of work done on making this much more clear, is the fact that there are so many components that go into Penumbra in order to make it a decentralized stack, right? So having the front ends run by the community, having RPCs run by the community that connect to those front ends, and having the validators choose to run any like some public set of software that's out there on that's been published by a software team, and then having a separate organization that is focused on growing the network itself really means that this becomes a collective project. And this has been something that's true about Penumbra through every step of the development up to this point too, right? A group of people decided to add to the trusted setup. A group of people decided to run validators on testnet. A group of people decided to work on discovering the airdrop. And so all of this is being discovered together. This is a collective project. So.
All right. So I have a brand new web browser, and I am installing Prax on it. So I have my Prax on. So wait, it is worth always kind of a little bit double clicking on why you need a new wallet. So every Prax wallet instance is its own ultralight node. And if you think about existing wallets, no other wallet, as far as I'm aware, or like sort of wallet, especially in the Cosmos ecosystem, has this like, we're going to run a light node inside of a Chrome extension so like your wallet is literally syncing the chain as a Chrome extension, and that's kind of a new phenomenon.
Yeah, and I think it's really crucial to point out with that too, that this is something that like on the technical side has always been sought out in crypto, right? We've always sought out this desire to have people run their own nodes. And it's always kind of been like a story that's been carried forward with a lot of different software stacks that have been developed in our space. So this is like kind of one of the first times that you are literally running your own node, kind of without realizing it, in order to access the network.
So I am just writing down the seed phrase for this new wallet.
Yeah. And the reason that we're not sharing the screen is so that y'all can't go and mess with
that. I don't
that.
just get trolled during the demo. Just give you a second.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, I also wanted to point out, like, you know, syncing the chain locally is because you're running your own node locally. And so a lot of that has to do with, it does require like a reasonable internet connection to be able to connect to the network. And which is why, like, you know, this is a new network and this is a new way of doing things. There are some, you know, you'll encounter issues here and there with why it is that people can't like necessarily sync perfectly all the time. You know, this is probably one of the first networks that has like a little bit of system requirements in order to be able to participate in it. But our hope from the Radiant side is that this is going to improve with time as the network gets more and more stable and more things get worked on. So I just wanted to point this part out as well. So how you doing on that seed phrase?
I'm done. Okay.
Okay, we're going to go back to sharing the screen then.
I'm going to bring back the screen share. All right. Cool. All right. So after you've done this screen share, you're going to get a selection of community run RPC nodes. And these RPC nodes are the nodes that your Prax is going to sync against. So pretty much any one of these nodes should work pretty well for you. Like we've sort of gone through and sort of tested them and like gotten a sense of their specs. But again, it's also going to depend on your local internet connection to sync. Like it's not just, hey, like what RPC node is going to work for me. You're also going to need to be on an internet connection that is sufficiently robust to handle syncing this. And then sort of the same story is we have this distributed community of front-end nodes, of front ends. And again, and like another thing to understand is while you are picking these different providers, they are what you are doing when you go to a front end is downloading and is essentially the entire front end is being downloaded into your browser, which is a fairly heavy process. And then syncing the node, and then the sync is happening with your Chrome extension, and then together, and now you have this like sort of local instance of a Penumbra user interface. All right. So this is like, and basically of the default choices, we think any of these default choices are good enough. There are other choices that are there. You can find them in the Discord. You know, all of these things also have a
yeah, I think it's important to point that out too, because so the Penumbra Labs team, the software development team that has created the Prax wallet, they have some editorial control over who it is that ends up in the that list of front ends. So the ones that you'll see in that list of Prax wallet front ends have been vetted for connectivity. So our recommendation is if you're having issues with connection to Penumbra, the Penumbra Labs team has done the work to vet those that are in that list, and those are the ones you should use. You can move to the other ones that you'll see on the server that are being shared socially as well, but it's just important to point that out. Those are the ones that have been actually vetted for connectivity. It doesn't mean that you can't use the other ones, and I would actually encourage people to explore. But it's very important to point out that the ones that have actually been vetted and that are the recommended ones are the ones that are found within the Prax wallet itself.
Yeah. All right.
So what you'll see now is Zaki is connecting to one of these front ends, as you can see. Okay, so what we're doing right now is what was mentioned earlier, right? Zaki is running an ultralight node in his browser using the Prax wallet extension. And it is syncing the chain locally using the Prax wallet extension in order to be able to display the state that is available to the wallet that Zaki just created. So needing to wait for syncing is something that is unfortunate, is a part of how Penumbra functions, right? Needing to sync your local data up to the most recent blocks means that you can act locally on the basis of interacting with the chain. This is part of the privacy preserving aspect.
And you'll see the same phenomenon when you use the COI. The COI will do the same thing every time you want to do an interaction. It will need to sync blocks.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's like if you step away from Penumbra for a while, like as if you set a bunch of positions or you set like a 48-hour Dutch auction, what you'll notice is in some situations when you open Prax back up, it'll ask to sync again. There are improvements that are on the way from the Penumbra Labs team, which will let it sync in the background eventually. But as it stands right now, you will syncing is something that you're always going to have to encounter if you step away from interacting with the front end for a while.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna also install Kepler on this browser instance.
Okay, great. And we'll address a lot of these questions that are showing up in the chat, maybe a little bit later in the call. There are some really good ones that are showing up in here. We are actually going to explain the Dutch auction mechanism on this call. We're going to demo it. So I just wanted to point this out as the questions come in the chat. We will be trying to answer them later on in the call.
I'm going to stop screen share and recover our seed phrase.
Okay, so we can look at our infinite loop here of all of us.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Same situation. You're copying over the seed phrase. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm setting up Kepler with the new seed phrase.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I wanted to reiterate for anyone who has just joined the call as well. If you're having sync issues, there's a couple different things that can influence this, right? And a lot of it has to do with the innovation that Penumbra as a network requires on the part of users, which is that Penumbra is probably one of the first chains that actually has some level of system requirements for the users who are interacting with the network. And that comes in the nature of your local machine's power, as well as your internet connectivity. This could change in time, but this is a part of the reason that, like, you might see some syncing issues here and there, and this is the reason it's good to. This is why there's a good reason to go and check different front ends that you have access to, because these front ends are what's providing you information about the network to your local node that you're running in your browser. One little point to put out there with understanding how this network functions is that it isn't actually designed to run on mobile yet. I just wanted to point this part out because we have seen in the Discord, as well as a lot of comments on Twitter, people are having syncing issues. This is part of the whole systems requirement issue for the network. If you're running a browser that functions on your device and allows you to run Chromium extensions, it is trying to use your device's power to run what is necessary on a powered desktop machine. So you're bound to have some issues here and there, right? So this is something to think about when you interact with Penumbra, is that over time, this hopefully is something that could be improved. But the idea of syncing the local state to a cell phone, to a mobile device, that wasn't actually what Prax was designed for. Prax is designed for running on a desktop computer at this time. So again, this could change with time, but there's two things again in the way of your syncing when you're trying to run it on a mobile device, and that is the power of the device and the consistency of your internet connection. And both of these things can affect sync.
Okay, I'm going to just quickly send the new wallet, USDC, and then
sounds great.
All right. Give me a second, yep, there we go. All right. And bring up the screen share.
Sounds great.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. So what do I have? I have my Kepler wallet. I have my Prax wallet. And your Prax wallet has a very large number of individual accounts. I have my Kepler installed. Leap also works. We support a bunch of different wallets in this. But so right now I have a Penumbra to so okay, so the first thing, because I don't have anything here, the first thing to do is to load some assets onto Penumbra.
Oh, maybe you have to hard reset your Prax session.
I have to reset my Prax.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, so just to explain this as well, right? When you're shielding assets, what you're doing is you're bringing assets into Penumbra, which means you're taking them from a visible internet into a non-visible internet and network. So shielding something is the act of taking an asset that is otherwise available in the interchain and bringing it into a domain that allows you to start engaging in interchain privacy. So
yeah,
well, and we'll go into this a little bit more as we go forward here. But this is what Zucky's doing right now, is moving assets from outside of Penumbra through IBC into Penumbra.
Yeah, so I'm going to move 5 USDC into Penumbra. Okay.
Oh.
The demagogues are angry. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Now you see that Zucky just shielded 5 USDC into Penumbra, which means that now there is no way to see this 5 USDC as it exists inside of Penumbra. It effectively to the outside, the world outside of Penumbra has vanished into Penumbra.
Yeah, into Penumbra shielded pool. So now, so what are these tabs? So you have the ability to send and receive USDC. You can swap it. You can stake. So I think probably the first thing we'll do is we'll swap some USDC for some So you click on this estimate tool, which will tell you how much that you're about to acquire. And you hit swap. And you see that you can pay transaction fees in USDC. And so my swap transaction executes.
Yeah. So one thing to point out there, just to, just so that we don't like completely bypass what it is that Zucky just said, you can pay for fees on Penumbra in several different asset types, right? This is not it's not just the network's token that can be used to pay for fees. There are several others that are permissioned.
Yeah, but there is a sort of so the mini front, the front end, will detect whether or not you have in your wallet, and if you have in your wallet, then it will prefer paying fees with So yeah, I just did an instantaneous swap. You see the history of the transaction. So I think there's some like interesting things that we can maybe like kind of go through with sort of this external ecosystem of tools. So we have the front end that is mini front. We have an explorer that's called Quiloa, and then we have the Dex Explorer.
Yep.
So right now, I don't know if this was my swap. You can probably put it in.
Yeah, that might be a nice thing to demo over on Quiloa.
Yeah, I was gonna demo them both on Quiloa. So we can take our transaction ID. We can put it into Quiloa. You can see our transaction hash, and you can see that like there's just not that much data that was in the transaction. So there was this was the swap claim. So there's also these two transactions. It's sort of somewhat invisible from a user point of view, but basically because you only had to sign once. But there are two transactions. There's one transaction actually executes the swap. Another transaction executes essentially claims the assets from the swap back into your account. This sort of and when we get into like providing liquidity and stuff like that, you're going to see a lot more of sort of surfacing of the when we do the auction, that this is like the standard format of Penumbra, where it's like you do an action and then you claim the action in order to like get the funds back into your wallet. So yeah, we have this transaction that was happening where we sent 0.5 USDC, we got 0.99. We are doing this, so you have like, it gives you this public view of the transaction also that was like what people could see. There's your local view of the transaction that is only available to you, which allows you to, which is based on decrypting the data. then let's see. So you also have, so we can look at this transaction. So Quiloa is Explorer, RadiantCommons.com. It's the block explorer for Penumbra. You can take a look.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like information here, right? But the kind of the crucial part to understand is that you can put in a transaction, and it gives you all of the transaction, like the visible details, but it doesn't actually tell you. Like you'll notice here, right? Like if you scroll through this, there's no amounts, right? Which is, I mean, if anything, this is like one of the things that's kind of like maybe a little bit of a mind shift that people have to engage with when it comes to Penumbra, is that looking at the block explorer, you can't tell like how much was moved around the chain. So this displays a very important quality of Penumbra, which is that all the activity that happens on Penumbra is public, but the amounts and the users are not, right? So you can see that things happened.
You actually, I mean, I don't know, but like you will see the aggregate amount that was swapped in a block, which is here. And then you can also take a look at it in the DEX Explorer, which is DEX Penumbra 7Cs.capital. I'm looking at the same block. There were 2 transactions in that block, and you can see that these 2 transactions. But what you can't see is like, was this one user who did this swap? Or was this multiple users? Instead, you get one transaction, and they'll be sort of broken up by how many liquidity positions it was executed against. Right?
That's right.
So yeah, this is kind of like, the state of the art of, and we're going to go into, there's like a lot more you can see on the DEX Explorer, for instance, about liquidity pools and stuff like that. We're just getting started. But this is like, I did a swap. I want to see what happens. You can see what is publicly visible. You can see what is privately visible. You see what's privately visible in Minifront. You see what's publicly visible in the DEX Explorer or on Quiloa, which gives you these different views of the trade.
And Javier, just to go ahead and answer your question that you just put up in the chat. This level of privacy was achieved through state-of-the-art zero-knowledge proof construction. With the way that Penumbra has been worked on. The Penumbra Lab team worked for the last 3 years on creating truly state-of-the-art privacy at the very forefront of zero-knowledge technology. So that's a big part of like what is the technological basis for how Penumbra is constructed.
Awesome. So maybe this is a good opportunity to kind of dive a little deeper into, what do you want to do next?
Well, so you showed off the swap. I actually wanted to sort of demo one part of the swap action as well, like whether swap, send, whatever it is, which is actually like the transaction views themselves, right?
Yep.
Like it gives you that preview inside of Prax, because I think some people maybe don't notice that that's actually a feature as well.
This estimate function?
No. So when you go and you like scroll down and actually before you execute the transaction, so go ahead and like act as if you're going to trade 1 USDC.
Okay.
So then do swap.
Okay, then do a swap.
So what you'll see here is you have, and you were able to see this also internally, but this, right? You can actually see your inputs, outputs, the swap amounts, everything like that. This is only visible to the user, right? This isn't visible to the network. So if we go back to the top of this and then hit the public view, you'll see that all of this is not visible. The only thing you can see is like the activity that's happening on the network itself. And maybe the memo, like if you, or the memo is only going to be demonstrated to the recipient.
But you can see
Yeah,
what
I wanted to show that part off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also.
Did you want to maybe walk through the asset page, and then maybe we can go to the we can show off a
Yeah,
what it looks like to stake, and then finally we can show what it's like to do a lazy swap.
So we could also do things like you can set up, so you have these multiple accounts, and the multiple account thing is, I think, frankly, a little bit confusing. But like I'll just send like one USDC to that account. So like
every wallet, or like every wallet on Penumbra, meaning like every Prax instance, has billions of accounts available to it, which means that if you were to use IBC to get assets out of Penumbra, you can send out from any one of those addresses, so that you preserve your privacy even when you leave Penumbra, and you can perform those actions outside of Penumbra. And then as long as you return your assets back to Penumbra, like you're preserving the overall privacy of all the assets that you hold. And what's crucial to understand about this is that it's only the session path that will be visible outside of Penumbra over IBC, right? So whatever assets you move outside of Penumbra, if you move them to a wallet that you already had before, which is not recommended, then like obviously the inflows to that wallet, which is not in Penumbra, will be visible. But if you send it to a new wallet outside of Penumbra, then you have the ability to have a completely private session. And then you move your assets back into Penumbra, you bin that wallet, and you never need to worry about it.
So the other thing to understand is, while this view is not publicly visible, so like, when you're talking about when you are using a normal blockchain, every account is like publicly visible on chain, that like you have these funds in this account. On Penumbra, no one can see that these are separate accounts. But like when you want to do something like a swap, you are going to see that there are separate balances for each account. So like I have the USDC, I have an account 0, I have the USDC, I have account 1, I have I have an account 0. And so like if I try to go and swap this USDC, it's not going to draw the fees from account 0. It's only going to draw fees and stuff like that. So you can, it's just like you
can partition it out. Yeah. Yeah. So one part that's like important to understand too is also, if you're like IBCing out, you don't need to switch accounts. Like this account feature is not for like necessarily using outside of Penumbra, right? It's like this account feature can be used just to preserve some level of privacy across like the different interactions you have. But like when you IBC out of Penumbra, it will always be private to whatever address you send it to.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And maybe you can demo in there. You can show just like how many different accounts there are. Like if you open up the Prax extension, like you can show people that there's like literally billions. So if you actually click on the number itself, you can, I believe you can write a number.
You can also check that an address is yours. And this is somewhat helpful, because if you are, like, for instance, about to click shield funds, and you want to send some funds to one of your accounts, and click shield assets, you will see that there's this Penumbra account here, and you could go and click on Prax and say, hey, is this one of mine? And it'll tell you that it belongs to your address. And just a little bit of defense in depth against like the idea of like a malicious front end. It's like, not sending you the, when you try to IBC in, it sends its own wallet address, etc.
Yeah, so this is like maybe one thing to understand as well, right? Is that since this is just like maybe a lesson for everyone to be learning as you learn how to use Penumbra, is that front ends, since they're run by the community, like you do have to take on the burden of like verifying that what you're doing is, something that isn't going to get you in trouble. Luckily, Prax won't interact with things that aren't constructed correctly. But you should always take the extra check of doing exactly what it is that Zaki just said, which is like you should check that the addresses you're putting in are the addresses that you want to verify having put in. there are some steps that require you as a user to engage in your own due diligence.
Yep. All right.
Do you want to go through staking as well and show people? We can
Yeah. Why don't we stake? So, I am biased. I'm going to stake with Occlusion, which is a validator that I'm part of the team that runs. But we can just quickly delegate some funds. All right. So now we can see that we have some delegated to Occlusion, and one component that is sort of interesting is that every single delegation actually has its own liquid staking token, and no one's built
that is
really
right.
anything
The
out
liquid
of this,
staking
but,
token
this can be IBC'd, it can be traded, it can be moved between accounts if you want to change where your liquid staking tokens are existing. Like, all of this is possible.
Yeah, and maybe go back to the assets page really quick. So one kind of particularity to understand about the DELUM token, this liquid staking token, is that it is specific to the validator that you're on, right? It's not a universal universal liquid staking token in the way that, like, I think a lot of people have been familiar with them in the past. What you have is effectively an NFT that has value equivalence to the original staking amount that you delegated to that validator, plus the staking rate over time. And so the value of the staking token, the value of the liquid staking token adjusts for the inflation of the chain. So you might not see the amount go up over time, but the equivalence in terms of tokens, the equivalence in terms of the network staking token will go up in terms of the actual tokens of the network itself. And you won't see that number change because it's effectively it's specific to that validator. And if you were to sell it in terms of a liquid staking, like wanting to sell your liquid staking token, that is something that you can trade out. So some of the benefits of staking Zero Darts, by the way, it's to your question in the comments there. You get to participate in governance, right? So you can vote on proposals, and one of the important features of being able to vote on the network is that each time you vote, you get a token that demonstrates your participation in having voted on a particular transaction. So there's a lot of different token types that show up on the network, and all of these just effectively offer information that is available to be traded or to sort of demonstrate your participation in different ways and forms. So it sort of gives us gives individual users a track record that they can sort of display of their own accord to show that they participated in previous proposals, for example. So yeah.
One thing that is sort of missing from the Penumbra ecosystem today is I'm not aware of any website right now that actually shows the staking yield, which is, it's a fun little bit of mystery theater / alpha that you can you have to kind of mentally reassemble in your own head. There's roughly, I believe the staking parameters were 2% inflation. And my guess is that we have about 10% of the total tokens in Genesis staked. So, it's probably something in the neighborhood of 20%. but someone should build a calculator.
Yeah.
Is like what the initial yields are for stakers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe it is time to, you can show, I think people have seen the void.vote website with past proposals. Maybe this is like another thing that you can show them.
So Penumbra today is like Starling's validator dashboard, which is a good tool for just.
Yeah, huge shout out to Starling Cybernetics. They have been on the network for a long time and have built a lot of tools that are have become extremely useful right off the bat. For example, they built this dashboard to be used with the testnet as we moved into, like, as the network moved into mainnet. So they built this tool, and it allowed testnet validators to display their readiness for launching on the network, which was very useful during the airdrop because where people delegated their tokens to different validators throughout the airdrop, and they were able to use Penumbra today to see which validators were ready for the network to launch. And so I just wanted to shout out Starling Cybernetics for building that site, and then concurrently, very, very close after launch, they built void.vote, which is the website you can use to connect to the governance parts of the network. Maybe try hard resetting the, yeah.
I see something popping up and then disappearing. Maybe I'm not gonna fight with it right now.
But, okay, cool. Well, generally speaking, there shouldn't be too many issues with the connection, but it's good that there's an error state built into it. So you can see here that there's all the way through this proposal number 3 that was like dealing with some of the IBC transfer issues before. But this is where you'll be able to see proposals when they come up. This is one of the places you'll be able to see proposals when they come up, if not directly on Pickley, which is not something we're necessarily demoing, but you can see here that this is pulling the information from the chain when there's a proposal up. And this is a community created site, right? This is not something that is necessarily like wasn't created by anyone like on a Penumbra team necessarily. This is a community member who built this site. So all of you, if there's a tool that is useful to Penumbra, please feel encouraged to build it, because they're like all of these things will be useful to expanding interchain privacy as Penumbra is offering it to users.
Yeah, both the Dex Explorer and Quiloa are open source. On the Penumbra GitHub. So you actually see here we have both Quiloa and Dex Explorer is in here too. Yeah, the Dex Explorer are both like good example code bases of building websites that extend, and then also in the main Penumbra repo, there's a tool called Key Indexer here, which is also an example of just indexing data off of the chain, putting into a Postgres database. There's so much, whilst Penumbra is a private chain, there's actually so much data that is available publicly that doesn't have indexers yet.
Yeah, because I want to stress again, right? Like there's a lot of activity itself that is actually visible on the chain. You don't compromise user privacy.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to close the door.
Sounds good to me. You don't compromise user privacy by having certain kinds of activity visible on the network, because that allows you to interact with the network in a meaningful way as an observer without compromising user privacy itself. That's how the network has been created, right? Like there's this desire to preserve user privacy but still have like global transparency, because that is a desirable feature of having of decentralized networks.
Yep. maybe we could do a little bit of a just navigating around the DEX Explorer.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and well,
So this is
I think, and then
this is also
we
like
could use that to do, and we could do a little GDA.
that sounds like a good idea to me.
Okay.
I do also want to stress, right? Like this is the V1 of a lot of these things. So we're like a lot of the people who are participating on working on Penumbra, just like with any decentralized project, like the V1 is always going to be a little bit of fun to navigate and get around, and it'll be improved through users' interaction with the network. This is the first time that privacy has existed in this way on a network, and so it's this is like it's going to have some initial friction, right? As all of the user experience is ironed out, and this is something that like Radiant Commons for our part, we really want to contribute meaningfully to improving the user experience, and so we encourage all of those who are watching the stream, all of those who interact with Penumbra on Discord, on Twitter/X, and just kind of in general, that you provide feedback to offer insights about how to make the experience better. So the DEX Explorer, for example, right now, like it's we have a way to be able to like look at different graphs, which is what Zaki is demonstrating, but we want to be able to improve this experience. And so your feedback is extremely valuable on improving this experience, because the destiny of this chain is to become highly usable interchain privacy for the multi-chain.
Yeah, we want to get to the point where like this DEX Explorer is as good as like Coin Hall or DEX Screener, but we are clearly we have a long way to go.
And the best way we can get there is with feedback from a community of users who are willing to overcome some of the initial UX barriers, so that we understand where it needs to go. So
all right,
yeah,
let's take a look at okay, so you go to from the, so this is the main, DEX Explorer main page. Then we go to pairs, and you can pick any of the pairs that are currently supported. I've mentioned, well, we'll see this more clearly when we do some LPing, but like there is no concept of pools really in Penumbra, which is, I think, part of this like advanced DEX design that we have deployed. And the Penumbra Labs team has built. But so I'm just going to get USDC to Penumbra, and we can just sort of look at the liquidity that we traded into earlier. So we basically have, and like you'll see this more clearly when we start interacting with more things on the liquidity side. But you can basically see market depth like right now, so that there is sell side volume on of people who have provided liquidity, and at what price in USDC they provided liquidity at, and there's also buy side volume, buy side liquidity. And these positions where someone is basically willing to buy $20,000 worth of but at substantially below market price right now. These green bars basically are partially filled liquidity positions.
Yeah, and I want to maybe just sort of like double click on one of the things that you mentioned a second ago, Zaki, which is that there are no pools on Penumbra, right? We're going to go into this a lot more when we go into demoing the liquidity provision that can only be done through the command line tool. But this is like a huge level up for how it is.
So far, only done so far. There's no,
very, very importantly, it can only be done so far through the command line. At some point in the future, this will probably change, but right now that's the only way to do so. So importantly, the DEX design does not require pools, because it seeks to route through positions that exist on the network from individual liquidity providers, individual users who have made the decision to provide liquidity in the form of a pair, and allows you to a lot like the protocol itself routes through all of these positions to establish or to establish the most efficient price possible for an individual swap, which of course requires there to be like more and more liquidity on the network to get like best possible price as it goes. But you know, it's sort of like a flywheel. As more liquidity enters the network, prices get better. As more liquidity provisions are offered by individual users, you get a better and better price. And you can actually, maybe Zaki, that's something we can show people too, is like you can actually show the swap routing, like all the different routes that a swap took.
Yeah, you can see this, like, you know, someone is swapping. So there has been an LP provider who has been very excited about providing Shitmos, the Cosmos meme token, liquidity on Penumbra. And so as a result, you know, and like one thing that's interesting is, you know, so like these swaps are just taking different routes through Penumbra based on what will give you the best price. So, you know, and this best price system is solved in consensus every block. So we spend like
every
a few hundred, every block, there's a few hundred milliseconds of the network's time is spent essentially computing optimal routes for all of the trades.
Yeah. So, yeah, just maybe there's some importance to stressing what this means, right? If you have a whole bunch of different positions throughout the network of different liquidity providers holding different pairs, the network finds a way to establish a trade by routing through all these different pairs, regardless of what it is that's being provided in each one of these pairs, right? So we see here we have the Shitmos token that's being provided as part of a liquidity pair, and the network decided that like the best way to get the price at that exact moment in time was to route through someone who is providing liquidity in the form of Shitmos. And this can be done with like any amount of any number of different pairs that are provided to the network.
Yep. So, you know, we expect that as LPing activity starts to take off on the network, you're going to see a lot more of these routes pop up. You know, you as a user should not be sitting there trying to guess, you know, what pairs you want to provide liquidity on, etc. While there's certainly going to be some room for sort of optimization among LP providers, if you just want to, you know, put a limit order in and be buying a certain token, you can do that on this network, and like, you know, people who are arbitraging the network between osmosis and centralized exchanges will automatically sort of fill that liquidity as you're doing it. So we'll go into a little bit more detail on this, but then yeah, also, you know, just like to return to the this is just again a pairwise graph. We can also see like for instance the Penumbra. So like, why did that happen where you get routed? Because there is both Shitmos Penumbra liquidity and there is
Shitmos USDC liquidity.
Shitmos USDC liquidity. And if that price is better than what you can get in the direct Penumbra USDC liquidity, then it will automatically take that route. And it's computing that inclusive of fees, etc. Just basically getting the swapper the best price. Are there any interesting questions?
Yeah, I mean, well, Drew did just ask something that's like a little bit off topic, but I was gonna maybe address it later. Maybe you can answer.
Sure. What was the question?
If you're interested in it, it's how is the compute overhead of batch execution metered? Is is it bounded by fees paid, or like what's
it's bounded by time. There's
Yeah,
an upper limit on how much time the network will spend.
that was a lot more straightforward an answer than I expected us to be able to have to provide there. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, it's also just important to keep in mind, right? Like one of the features of a lot of other networks is that when transactions on the network are visible in the way that they are on other networks, rather than batched as they are on Penumbra, there is like the ability to order transactions and extract value out of like providing transactions in these ways. With Penumbra, a lot of that is taken away by batching transactions at the end of a block. So all of the transactions are inserted into a block, and at the end of the block, they're executed. So that way, there's not really like a concept of ordering transactions on Penumbra.
Yeah, and you can't do things like insert liquidity, have a swap, have it remove the liquidity, or like, swap into a position. All of that routing is commuted globally. Liquidity is added, and like all of the swaps are computed. Then liquidity is removed, and so you get this like sort of MEV resistance or sandwich resistant property from the structure of the network. And benchmarking during like testnets and stuff like that indicate that we could support thousands and thousands of swaps in a single block. So this network is expected to be quite scalable to like large amounts of trading volume.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Also, just to some of the comments that are coming in here from some people on X, this website is the DEX Explorer that is available right now that a community member 7Cs created, which is dex.penumbra.7cs.capital. And there will be a thread later today after this live stream that will go through some of these sites that have been shared today, so that people can use them as resources that are made available by community members.
Okay.
Do you want to show off a GDA?
Yeah, let's do a GDA.
Let's do a GDA. Okay, so GDA stands for a gradual Dutch auction, which is another very cool feature that was built into the software of Penumbra for launch, allowing people to engage in price discovery over time. So that's what Zucky's gonna demo and explain right now.
So what this concept is basically for is, so like, let's say you wanted to trade a pair where you either want to trade like a large amount of size or which is like larger than like what the active liquidity positions that are there will give you a good price for, or you want to trade a pair that there isn't very much direct liquidity, like if you wanted to like trade like USDC for Libra, for instance. There's like not any liquidity. I think if there's no liquidity, you can't at all. It won't do it. If there's like minimal liquidity, you can kind of it will give you this sort of price discovery property, and then you can do this thing. So like, let's just do quick estimate, quick start auction. All right, let's see if it isn't bad. Oh, let me change it to this one. No, that's what I wanted to do the GDA. So the way you initiate the GDA is you move this slider, and it's like, how long are you willing to wait to get a better price? Is basically
across all each auctions. Yeah, I mean and what you'll see here, right, is like if you never move the slider, that's your instant swap. That's what you're getting at the end of a block. Like if you want to swap right now, you'll see that there's a difference between just like these 4 auctions that can happen over 10 minutes or just go back to the instant swap really quick, right? You see that the interface changes. So like this is how you use the gradual Dutch auction feature, is by engaging with the idea of wanting to sell your asset over time. And specifically why this is a useful thing is like you can kind of counteract a level of volatility in terms of your swap if you're willing to wait, right? If you want to wait up to 48 hours for all of these different auctions to execute, you get to engage with fluctuations in price over time, which might give you a better price, right? And it's also a very great way for new tokens to discover their price, because people can kind of like dictate the upper bound and the lower bound of what it is that they're willing to pay for an asset. And then the auction mechanism will sort of move through all of the available auctions on the buy side and the sell side to find a price that everyone can agree on.
All right, let's just quickly do one of these and we'll be able to come back to it later. All right.
So you can see here what Zucky's doing is wanting to buy using USDC. So the price discovery tool is showing you here how much you might get for your USDC, and is sort of just like demoing this over time. So this is why, like, from block to block, you're kind of seeing this like kind of fluctuation in price, but it is sort of just like a history.
So then if we go and we look at USDC Penumbra, we should be able to actually find our liquidity positions. Which are, should each be 25 cents. Maybe not. Yeah, okay. I don't think it shows it in this interface. Yeah, so each...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so each auction is set up. It'll execute. Oh, okay, it starts in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you got to wait for the order to get, I guess, publicized. Yeah.
All right,
so
cool.
But what you can see here, right, is like if you look at the upper bound and lower bound of each auction over this period of time, is a demonstration that like you'll find kind of like a meat of like where the upper bound is and someone's purchase price, like someone who might want to do like the reverse gradual Dutch auction in this block, or in this over the time that this auction's active, and each auction might find a slightly different price, so that your cumulative auction amounts that come back to you might kind of display you're like effectively getting a better trade over time. This, I think, obviously, like is this is pretty unique using a Dutch auction on a network. So again, really great opportunity for people to give feedback on like maybe better, like even how to improve this interaction. But you can see here, each one of these auctions, there's an auction ID for each one of the gradual Dutch auctions that is going to get executed at sort of different times over the course of 10 minutes. So Drew asked, are gradual Dutch auctions order segment LPs?
Yes, they are order segment LPs.
Yeah, exactly. So, Which is why it is that when you go over to the Explorer, like you can see like different positions shared separately.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet, so I don't know if it, I didn't actually test if you could see them in that interface. I sort of expect that you would. But we'll see in when the liquidity actually goes active.
Yeah. Also, just to answer some of the other questions that are just like floating around the comments, which I can just address while we're waiting for that to start, because it should start pretty soon, I would figure, right? Maybe refresh just in case. Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, again, just want to reiterate, right, with the syncing issue, just because I think there's probably some people who have like joined the call later. Penumbra is one of the first networks that allows users to interact with the network using a node that is run locally on your device using Prax Wallet. The reason that there's a different wallet for this network than there have been, than being able to, like, for example, use Kepler or use Leap, or even like, MetaMask is like a completely different wallet, not for IBC connected space, but like as an example. Those are just kind of like ways to interact with your account on the network. Where Penumbra is very different is that you're actually running an ultralight node in your browser. And what this means is, like, the advantage is that you are generating zero knowledge proofs on your device, and the generation of that proof is what gets posted to the network. All the information needs to get posted to the network. So understanding this, there are system requirements that are in place, and in order to be able to interact using an ultralight node, right? And those come in the nature of could be your internet connection, could be your local device's power, in order to be able to actually generate those. And if you have both of those things combined, you're not going to have the greatest syncing experience. If you're running a device that's running on an intermittent internet connection, you might have some sync issues. If you're running a device that is underpowered on a maybe okay internet connection, you might as well have some syncing issues. And so this is just something to keep in mind, is that hope, that the hope is that this will change over time. But it's something to keep in mind, is that there kind of are there is some level of system requirement in terms of being able to interact with the network itself. And this is, I would guess that a lot of the people, or actually I wouldn't guess, like it's kind of like been evidenced by speaking with some users. There are some users who are using a mobile device to connect to the network, using a browser that allows Chromium extensions, and the browser extension is not built for that. I just want to be very explicit in saying that, right? The Penumbra Labs team benchmarked the browser extension to be running on a desktop computer. So it's great that there are Chromium browsers that can function on a mobile device and allow you to run something like Prax, but that's not what Prax is designed for. And so that can be because of the system requirements, right? The intermittent internet connection and the underpowered local device might make it so that it's a little hard to find, to actually sync with the network. Bobby, so I see your comment about selling your Penumbra on a Dutch auction, and the USDC not being seen in your wallet. Maybe double check whether or not you've actually withdrawn the.
No, we're going to be able to show that in like.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so we have to go throughout. So what you can see is that each one of these Dutch auctions are actually executing over time. Here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So are you looking for the individual
I think
auctions?
we can see them, but actually, let me refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it actually shows them in the interface. But in like a minute, there should be plenty of liquidity for this.
So what you'll be able to see is once this first one executes, we did have to wait for these 25-cent USDC orders to execute, but you'll be able to see kind of like the whole flow for a Dutch auction.
Yeah. So we are buying, we're not selling.
Yeah. This is a good time to ask more questions here. I mean, obviously, I think maybe some of the questions around gradual Dutch auctions are best suited for after this auction ends, so that we can kind of go through the whole flow of it. But if there are some other questions, this is a good time to ask them.
All right. So
yeah,
I can click end. I can click approve. And then I can, so right now, before I do this, I have 0.49 in my wallet. After I click it,
so Drew's got a question about the gradual Dutch auction orders that I think maybe is like a good thing we can answer.
So now I have more on.
Yeah. So if gradual Dutch auction orders overlap, but all trades in a block clear at the same price, then isn't this a nonlinear time-weighted average price? So it's like as if it's like more concentrated at the end of the time span of each transaction. Like I think you'd be better suited to like detailing that. But
I guess the way to understand it really is, so the GDAs are executed both against the order book and against any swaps that come. And as a practical matter, it's most likely order book prices that you're going to get executed against rather than so if your GDA overlaps with the top of the order book price at the bottom, which is like what the estimate will probably get you, because it'll try and give you the like the estimate function will give you essentially like the current price as the bottom value. And if there's enough liquidity in the order book to execute against that, then you're going to get either partial or full execution against what's in the order book. And if someone introduces new liquidity during the GDA that is better than your current order book price, you'll get more. Which is like why you're seeing the execution, because no additional liquidity. But if anyone who is viewing came in and swapped against it, you could potentially get executed again. If you were swapping, trying to sell right now, you would potentially get this factored into the GDA, into the available liquidity. There's only like 75 cents in this GDA, so it doesn't like hugely material.
Right.
But then you can click end all.
Yeah, which again, just wanted to like reiterate here. One of the really valuable things is to get feedback from a community of users. And I don't really know what happened to the one user who was asking questions about the about like tokens showing up in your wallet, but like you do have to look and see back in your account to see where it is that like the amounts have changed, which is what Zaki was showing earlier. But
and you have to make sure that this auction state is that you've withdrawn all of your auctions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you won't get the funds back.
Otherwise, you won't see
and
that
you
amount.
You can click this all button and see basically your past auctions as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one point to make here is that like when the network launched, the Penumbra Labs team had it such that all of the auctions had to be ended individually and then withdrawn individually, and it was with user feedback that was changed, right? That was improved. That part of the auction experience was improved based on the feedback from people. So again, want to I want to really encourage that. The Radiant Commons team, we saw these comments, collated them, and then sent them over to the Penumbra Labs team, and they made the decision to add an end all and a withdraw all button, so that the gradual Dutch auction experience could be further improved.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe right. This is a good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe this is a good time for us to like. I mean, I feel like we've covered like a pretty. We've pretty much covered everything that you can do right now with Penumbra, and there's a lot of stuff that is on the horizon. But I think maybe this is a good time to like talk about something kind of exciting.
Well, no, I want to do Pickley, like really.
Okay. Oh, sure. Right.
Liquidity a little bit of an intro to Pickley.
Right. Yeah.
First,
do that
because we did have that on the agenda.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I think we could probably we'll see what the user feedback is from this session, and then probably do another session that's like a deep dive in Pickley. But I did want to like kind of like to kind of like do a little bit of a demo of like the LP function.
Sounds great to me.
In Pickley. All right. So what I'm gonna do, so if you go to so kind of like the starting point for all of this is guide.zone. And you want to install Pickley. You can build it from source, which is the other option. But there's a very easy one-liner command. Another very, very useful thing to know about Pickley is that the way in which you kind of have multiple wallets is by passing this --. So I could do like Pickley test wallet. And then like once you do that, you can have once you do this, you'll have to like pass that for every command that you do. But it allows you to have like multiple wallets on a single computer. And then so init KMS. The -- help argument is very I can totally spell this right. Is very useful for so I'm just going to import the same wallet that I've been using for the demo. What did I do? Oh, you need to pass
it's different. I think it's a different statement.
So what I would do is I can go here, I can go RPC, I can actually copy this.
I think it's, yeah.
I think it's, oh, no. Very bad at me.
Oh, you had the gRPC URL in the wrong spot, it looks like.
I can just do that. Oh, I can probably just do this. All right. Then I'm going to go off screen share so I can import my seed phrase.
Sounds great.
All right. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Cool. So now I have clause it up, and I can do things like view balance. So just like Prax, I got to wait for my ultralight node to sync in sort of a similar fashion. That makes sense? So now you have my auction NFTs, which should have been, which are here. Yeah, we probably want to eventually filter the ended auction NFTs out of it. But like, you can sort of see how these things are overlapped. So I have, this is IBC'd USDC, and it's 2 to the 6th. And then there's also, and then like Penumbra is the only asset, Penumbra that it like understands decimals. So it's like automatically converting between the subunits for IBC assets. It currently doesn't really understand decimals when it's showing it. So it's showing everything in UUSDC. But these values are equivalent. Okay. Now let me. So there are like kind of two forms of LPing that are sort of available right now in the CLI interface, and sort of the tooling will improve, but actually, I mean, some of the stuff is actually, like I said, it's pretty. You can do like real stuff with it right now. So if we do TX.
The other thing I just kind of wanted to like underline is that relative to many other command line tools, Penumbra was built by the Penumbra Labs team to be like very easy to use, even using the command line. So if you don't have a lot of experience using a command line tool for a network, you should still in some ways be able to navigate this. We don't recommend that like the Radiant Commons team wants to encourage you to use the more user-friendly software that's available out there, which Prax Wallet is like an example of that, right? And the front ends that are being hosted by the community are designed for most users. But if you were to use the command line, it's designed to be pretty navigable. And if you're not familiar with how to use command line tool, I think you'll even in the end as well, if you also have a lot of experience using them, I think you'll find it's actually quite navigable. It's quite easy. It's quite easy to use relative to understanding how to use one.
So let's just quickly do a very simple. So this TX position order button gives you a pretty user-friendly interface to opening essentially limit orders, but they can be structured as either limit orders or LP positions. And I'll kind of show you the difference. So you have this concept of a buy order where and we're gonna buy some Penumbra for USDC. We're gonna put an order in to buy Penumbra for USDC. And the order flow the orders that you see in the Dex Explorer were all built basically this way for the most part. So let's say you wanted to buy. So there's like kind of two things that you could do. So let's say you just want to buy, and this is like a very common and frankly effective way of using Penumbra today. Which is you can basically buy. So like, let's say I wanted to buy one Penumbra at, so 50 cents would be $500,000 transfer channel to USDC. And I want this position to auto close when filled. So basically, you can wait. Let's do like 60 cents. So it's like slightly better. So like we went to osmosis.sun. You could like go and do. Look at the price. So it's like 51 cents. So like we could do like 55 cents and buy one and then we can pass auto close. And so what the auto close will do is that it will set up the LP position as essentially like a conventional limit order, which is if someone fills it, the position will automatically close and no longer, like, you can't be traded out of this. This is like kind of the, the like much prophesied but rare to find in price AMM liquidity position as limit order structure.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you want to demo showing that transaction on Kiloa just to show people that like
so we're going to do two things. I want to just flag two really important pieces of data. Right. So one really important piece of data is this PLP ID function. Mm-hmm. And another really important piece of data is the transaction hash. So we can take the transaction hash, we can go to Kiloa. And we can see that we opened a position for 55 cents to buy one Penumbra. And then we can also take this PLP ID and like what PLP IDs belong to you are kind of known only to you. So, well, you can do a couple of things. You can do this, which is view. Position, and you can see the status of position ID, and you can see that it was already closed. And so, and then you can also take the same ID, and you can go to the Dex Explorer. and you can see that someone filled the order in the same block. And now your order was closed. And so now, so if I go to view balances, I have this NFT, and the NFT is the NFT is in this open state. It hasn't updated into the closed state, but it is closed on chain. This is sort of the way things work. But then I can go to, so then I want to get my one Penumbra out of the DEX. So I go to position, close. So my two options are you have this closed position, which I can just enter the ID for, or I can send close all, which will just close all of my open positions. And then I can also, then I can just do withdraw my equity position. And now if you look at it on DEX Explorer, it'll show that it's been withdrawn, and I got my one on. So I paid 55 cents. It was immediately taken care of by the network. We can actually look at what happened in 6350 on the DEX Explorer. So if we look here, so what happened is the chain will automatically observe that there is an arbitrage opportunity, and it basically filled my order with liquidity that was already on chain, because it was just like 55. It was just 55 cents, and there was apparently an arbitrage opportunity where it could profitably arbitrage the one, and so it just saw that and immediately filled. It's cool. All right. Now there's this like more advanced use case, which I'm going to go off screen share for a second and show how to provide passive liquidity on Penumbra.
Bro, you don't want to leave the studio, right?
No, I don't want to leave studio.
Yeah, you want to just stop the screen share.
I just want to stop screen share. I don't want to push the giant.
I was like, we're about to see Zucky just disappear.
Yes. Okay. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so to answer some of the questions that are in the comments as well here, X1K adding multiple accounts to a dashboard. Yeah, I saw your first comment, so thanks for reposting it. So right now, like Prax is designed so that you are using like an individual wallet account to all of the different accounts that you have within Prax. So if you want to use multiple different accounts, like multiple different wallets, you're going to have to like uninstall Prax and reinstall it. Maybe at some point there could be an update that will allow you to like just log out of Prax, but at this time that's not something that's built in. There's like the idea behind this is that there's not actually a whole lot of reasons to use multiple wallets unless you wanted to segment them out, because inside of an individual wallet that you generate on Penumbra, you have those billions of accounts that you can use that you can segment out to different purposes if you want to. So this is just something to keep in mind. You can have multiple seed phrases and manage lots of different wallets if that's something that you want to do. But the user experience makes it such that since you preserve privacy, you can just have the one wallet with billions of accounts attached to it.
All right. Okay. I'm going to, let me just.
X1K, to proceed with your question, adding multiple accounts to the dashboard, not multiple wallets. Right. So adding multiple accounts, if I don't think that your question is as clear as maybe you're hoping it can be. Yeah. So you can only see account 0. You have to send a balance from account 0 to other accounts.
All right.
So whatever balance you have on your account 0, if you want to populate other accounts, you have to actually send transactions to that. And that's how it'll show up in the dashboard. You'll have like multiple different accounts that you've sent internal to the wallet that shows you that.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to, so there's this, let me present slides, share screen, window, share screen, share. All right, cool. Okay, so there is a new, I would call it like alpha feature that hopefully will be improved by the Penumbra Labs team over time, that sort of introduces like passive or like semi-active liquidity into the network. And so there's a setup step that you need to do where you need to download the Penumbra registry or the Prax registry into your Pickley home directory. So I'm just doing that right now. And then we're going to run this command. So what this is it's the reason we needed to set up that registry is so that like Pickley could become more have more information about the different kind. And what we're doing is we're putting in passive, we're like setting up a linear set of passive liquidity for let's see, this is, I think I need to take 1 0 off of this. No, 2 zeros for it to work. Yep. Okay. And so it basically now knows that like Penumbra and USDC are sort of equivalent units based on the registry. You have this, and now you can do the lower price, upper price, and okay. So now it's going to open up a bunch of liquidity positions. And so now we could pick one of these and see that they should be on chain. Yep. And so that's the other thing to understand. One really important thing is every position has its own. There's no like. It's not like Osmosis or Uniswap where you have specific specified features. Every liquidity provider is picking their own specified feature. This replicate feature is very early. This is first, it got worked on over the weekend. It just went live. It's absolutely bleeding edge feature. You need 80.1 of Pickley to even have it, and it will be improved over time. But this is the first. This is designed to sort of allow people to provide sort of passive ranged liquidity that they don't have to manage every single day into a pair. So those are probably the you have buy positions, sell positions. You have the option of choosing auto close, and then you have this new replicate command that does that has this linear function. It also has a x times y equal k function, which will provide liquidity mirroring like a traditional Uniswap V2 position and open hundreds of liquidity positions. That's sort of interesting. And one thing that's really just kind of nice from a usability point of view is because you have the close all and withdraw all functions, it's not really that much of a nightmare to have hundreds or thousands of open orders and open positions on the network. And there's a lot of opportunity to add scripting and stuff like that on top of it. One thing though that's nice is if you're a little bit deeper into Rust, you can look at how these linear commands and the the linear and the x times y equals k function, where many liquidity positions are being opened in a single transaction, are implemented. And there's this planner abstraction inside of Pickley, which can be just extended with new functionality, and it's quite a bit faster to open a lot of positions if you modify a Pickley directory rather than editing just writing scripts that use Pickley, because the planner can actually open many positions in a single transaction.
Yeah. I think also it's probably pretty useful to zoom out here to people who maybe are a little bit lost in what just got explained. But this just gives you an understanding of just how much is built into Penumbra as a DEX, right? It provides a lot of features that kind of are a result of standing on the back of giants that we have gotten to this point with all of kind of DeFi up to this point, with the added benefit of being on a fully private network. So now you can execute all these different forms of providing liquidity or of trading on the network that have been iterated on before on other networks that are public, but now you can do all of this in a fully private network. Conceivably, there is a world in which you can path through Penumbra. We, obviously take advantage of these functions so that you're trading in a fully private environment. And it'll just get better with time. The user experience will continue to get better with time. So while right now this requires you to go through the command line, and probably will for a good while, eventually a lot of these things will be available to even the most advanced users of DeFi applications, as being able to do this in a front end that someone builds.
Yeah, and we're definitely there's definitely a huge space for community contributions here.
Yeah. I really want to stress that. I think it's really good that you point that out again, right? Penumbra is a collective project. While there is a software development team that has developed a lot of the software up to this point, any community member that's out there, meaning anyone who wants to contribute to Penumbra in some way, can create software that interacts with the network using open source, the open source software that's available, and kind of can iterate upon it to continue to evolve what this looks like. So it's a very green field, a new set of possibilities made available by having fully private DEX and network available to you.
All right. Do you want to do your special announcement?
Yeah, I mean, so why don't you just you can just pull it up. So go.
What's the URL?
This is. Yeah, I'll tell you in a second. So I'm just gonna go ahead and announce it first. So before anything else, so I don't know. Can I center myself? Can I do that?
Yeah, I can center.
Solo layout. Cool. All right. So we have something kind of exciting, and I'll share to your screen in a moment. So what Radiant Commons? I want to describe a little bit what Radiant Commons is on our side. So Radiant Commons is an organization that seeks to accelerate and scale the growth of consentful networks. And so what does that mean, right? It means networks that engage in a consent to use your information in different ways and like allow the user themselves to dictate how their information is used. And so with Penumbra, the purpose of Radiant Commons is to aim to scale this network. And this is why it is that like we're demoing how it is that you can interact with Penumbra. The first, full scale, hold on one second. It looks like maybe my speakers, my earbuds just cut out as I was talking.
I can still hear you.
You can still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, everything's good.
Still going to change it just in case, because I heard the deceleration of death on my earbuds. So anyway, right. So the point of Radiant Commons is to provide this avenue to scale networks that we believe as an organization are really going to contribute to the original mission of the Cypherpunk Manifesto. And part of this is like an aim to really accelerate the growth of this network in particular, of Penumbra. And so with that, one of the things we want to announce is that Radiant Commons is going to be keeping track of points. And we'll have a point system that you can engage with. And right now, it's just a static website, but just to give you a picture of what it is that the website looks like, just go to thevoid.computer.
So, okay, I do thevoid.computer.
.computer, yeah. So this is the Void computer. Right now, it does not have like a ton of features, right? It is a static website to give you an understanding of the fact that points are something that Radiant Commons is keeping track of on Penumbra. And this website will be updated in the long term, and we'll have more detail on it. But well, yeah,
I want to give a little bit of how do you build a points website for a private DEX?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like a little bit of like what the insight is that's about it. So there's two things that are really cool about it. So one is as we've been seeing through the DEX Explorer, all of these liquidity positions are public. So every single liquidity position ID is part of the chain state. Everyone can look at it. We can see what prices, whether or not there was trading, how much volume, everything for every single liquidity position. Everyone can see that. But what we can't see is who owns the liquidity position. But another thing that is a very subtle thing about Penumbra is that in your wallet, it's just filtered out of all of the views because it would be really annoying. Every single LP position and every single auction that you've ever participated in is part of your wallet balance, basically forever, for the life of the chain. And so what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to track what liquidity positions did on the chain. How did liquidity on this DEX evolve over time, based on the publicly available information. And then we're going to be able to use Prax and your like essentially built-in light node for you to figure for your network for like your wallet to figure out, hey, these are the liquidity positions that I've opened over time based on this wallet. then assign them things. And so we are very excited to sort of start, creating this mechanism of sort of tracking, how did we build liquidity together in this new trading environment?
Yeah, so points use the only information that's publicly available on Penumbra to kind of create like a map of activity, and you as an individual user who is contributing liquidity to the network are going to be the only person who knows how many points you're getting, right? There's no way for parties to really understand that you have a certain amount of points. But the point of the points website is that points provide us a system of account for activity on the network. You can go ahead and hit the points explainer. So you'll see, like, for now, what we're trying to show you is that with the points website, you are the one who's providing to the network, and so like the idea will be that it eventually will create Penumbra. So one of the more important parts about Penumbra is understanding that the privacy is a function of activity on the network, right? So you as a user, as you interact with the network, are providing privacy to other participants on the network. And all the different ways that you can do so demonstrate this quality of Penumbra. So for points in particular, if you're providing liquidity to the network as one characteristic of what points can be, because points could be many things, points offer a system of account for that activity on the network. So you can go ahead and hit the points word as well to just understand. There you go. So like, what are points, right? Points have no point, no value. They do not, have not, and will never exist, although they do, as you can see. They're information about Penumbra. Penumbra can get you points, and it's a map of your impact that only you can see. And so points, we're hoping to, as Radiant Commons, use as this kind of just like a game to have people play on the network to develop this sort of participation in the network.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we've been doing the stream for 2 hours. We're very excited on the Radiant side to have kind of given a demo of how Penumbra works. And we want to encourage you all to like continue to contribute to the project in all the different ways that you can, either through like anything as complicated as contributing code to Penumbra and as simple as transacting on Penumbra. All of these things contribute to Penumbra as a privacy domain. That's kind of our mission as Radiant Commons, is to encourage you all to contribute to this project, because the more people use Penumbra, the more privacy is available to all the users of Penumbra.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to close the stream, I guess, right? So thanks, everyone. We might do some more live streams here in the future, but for now, this is.
We will definitely be doing more live streams. I think
yeah, we will.
There's a lot of education.
There's a lot of education. And there's also going to be like a lot of updates to sites and updates to front ends, and maybe there'll be an overhaul and all these different things. So really appreciative of everyone who's tuned in. We plan to continue doing this as Radiant Commons and trying to get people more familiar with Penumbra. Thanks so much for attending today.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, take care.
Okay, everyone. I'm going to kill the live stream.
That sounds good.